Story number 1. The Disappearing Waitress. In a small, quaint town nestled deep within the Appalachian Mountains, there was a charming diner known as Lola's Place. It had been a beloved establishment for generations, with its retro decor, hearty comfort food, and warm atmosphere. But Lola's Place was most famous for its long-serving waitress, Eleanor. Eleanor was a fixture of the diner, having worked there for nearly 50 years. She had served countless customers with a smile and a kind word, earning the love and respect of the entire community. However, there was something peculiar about Eleanor. She never seemed to age. Regulars would come in year after year, and Eleanor always appeared the same, as if time had stood still for her. Her vibrant red hair and bright blue eyes remained unchanged, and her energy never waned. People whispered that Eleanor had made a mysterious pact to stay young forever, but it was all in good fun. One chilly autumn evening, as the leaves turned fiery shades of red and gold, a peculiar event unfolded at Lola's Place. A group of friends, who had grown up visiting the diner, decided to celebrate their high school reunion there. They reminisced about old times, laughed, and enjoyed a feast of Lola's famous meatloaf and apple pie. Eleanor, as always, was their waitress, serving them with her usual charm. As the night wore on, the friends began to reminisce about the first time they had met Eleanor, back when they were just kids. Nostalgia filled the air, and they toasted to the enduring memories created at Lola's Place. However, as the clock struck midnight, something inexplicable happened. Eleanor, who had been chatting and laughing with the group just moments before, suddenly vanished. The friends looked around in confusion, their laughter turning to anxiety. The other diners had also noticed her disappearance. The manager of Lola's Place rushed to the table, searching for Eleanor. He explained that there must be some sort of mix-up, as Eleanor had retired years ago. The friends were perplexed. They had just seen her, and she hadn't aged a day. The incident sent shockwaves through the small town. Everyone who had been at Lola's Place that night swore they had seen Eleanor, and many questioned their own memories and perceptions. Some believed it was a ghostly visitation, while others thought it was an elaborate prank. Regardless, Eleanor's disappearance became a local legend, and Lola's Place was never quite the same. To this day, the mystery of the disappearing waitress continues to haunt the town, and the memory of Eleanor, the eternal waitress, lingers in the hearts of those who experienced that fateful night at Lola's Place. Years passed since the mysterious disappearance of Eleanor, the eternal waitress of Lola's Place, but the enigma surrounding her never truly faded. In fact, it only deepened, as more stories and sightings emerged from the townsfolk. One chilly autumn evening, a family from out of town decided to stop by Lola's Place for a warm meal and a taste of the local charm. They were unaware of the legend of Eleanor, but soon found themselves captivated by the quaint atmosphere and delicious food. As they settled into a cozy corner booth, their waitress, a young woman named Emily, approached with a friendly smile. The family found her demeanor oddly familiar, as if they had known her for years. Emily took their orders and tended to their needs with impeccable grace, much like the legendary Eleanor. The family couldn't help but ask about the previous waitress, and Emily replied, "Oh, you must be talking about Eleanor. She was a beloved figure here for many years, but she retired a while back." The family nodded in understanding, although they couldn't shake the feeling that there was something uncanny about Emily. As the evening wore on, the family couldn't help but share stories about their own lives, much like the previous group of friends had done years ago. Emily listened attentively, occasionally offering sage advice and words of comfort. The night passed in a haze of nostalgia and heartfelt conversation. When the clock struck midnight, the family suddenly realized that Emily was nowhere to be found. They called out for her, growing anxious by the minute. The manager rushed over, just as he had on that fateful night with the group of friends. He explained to the family that Emily had never existed in their employment records. Eleanor had been the last waitress to work at Lola's Place, and she had retired years ago. The family was dumbfounded, unable to comprehend what had just transpired. Rumors of Emily's appearance spread throughout the town, reigniting the legend of Eleanor. People debated whether the spirit of the eternal waitress had returned to comfort and serve the patrons of Lola's Place in their times of need. The town remained divided on the truth behind these strange occurrences. Some believed in the supernatural, while others. Story number 2. The Haunted Kitchen. In a quiet suburban neighborhood, nestled among tall trees and picket fences, there stood a quaint, century-old house known as the Morrison residence. This charming home had been in the Morrison family for generations, but as the years passed, strange occurrences began to unfold within its walls, particularly in the heart of the home, the kitchen. Mrs. Morrison, a warm and hospitable woman, was the heart and soul of the family. Her kitchen was a place of comfort and nourishment, where delicious meals and cherished memories were crafted. However, as she grew older, her health began to decline, and her beloved kitchen became the epicenter of a series of inexplicable events. One chilly autumn evening, Mrs. Morrison's daughter, Sarah, came to visit with her own family. The kitchen was bustling with activity as they prepared a hearty meal together. Sarah's husband, John, was chopping vegetables, while their 2 children, Emily and Daniel, set the table. Mrs. Morrison, although frail, was delighted to see her family gathered around her. As they laughed and reminisced about old times, a peculiar incident occurred. The kitchen faucet suddenly turned on full blast, spraying water everywhere. Everyone gasped and rushed to turn it off. John inspected the faucet, finding nothing wrong with it. They brushed it off as an odd plumbing glitch. The following day, Sarah returned to the Morrison residence to find her mother distraught. Mrs. Morrison explained that throughout the night, she had heard strange noises coming from the kitchen, a cacophony of clinking utensils and whispered voices that seemed to emanate from nowhere. She had assumed it was just her imagination, but the events of the previous evening had left her deeply unsettled. Over the next few weeks, the disturbances in the kitchen escalated. Cabinets would open and slam shut on their own, pots and pans would crash to the floor, and the refrigerator door would swing open unexpectedly. Mrs. Morrison's health deteriorated further as she became tormented by sleepless nights and a constant sense of dread. Desperate for answers, the family contacted paranormal investigators to examine the house. The investigators set up cameras and recording devices in the kitchen, hoping to capture evidence of the supernatural activity. One fateful night, as the investigators reviewed the footage, they witnessed a chilling sight. An apparition, faint and ethereal, appeared in the kitchen. It resembled Mrs. Morrison in her younger days, moving about as if she were preparing a meal. The investigators were astounded, as they had captured undeniable evidence of a haunting. The family, torn between grief and relief, decided to seek a spiritual medium to communicate with the restless spirit. Through a seance, they learned that the spirit was indeed Mrs. Morrison, trapped in a state of turmoil and unable to move on. She had loved her kitchen so dearly that her spirit had become bound to it. With the help of the medium, the family performed a ceremony to release Mrs. Morrison's spirit from the kitchen. Afterward, the paranormal activity ceased, and the kitchen returned to its peaceful state. The Morrison family could finally grieve their loss and remember Mrs. Morrison as she once was, a loving mother and the heart of their home, no longer trapped in the haunting confines of the kitchen that she had cherished so deeply. With the paranormal activity ceased, life in the Morrison residence returned to relative normalcy. The family no longer heard the eerie whispers, and the kitchen remained a place of warmth and nourishment rather than fear and uncertainty. However, the events that had transpired in the haunted kitchen left an indelible mark on the family. Sarah, John, Emily, and Daniel found themselves looking over their shoulders, half expecting another unsettling occurrence. They knew that their mother's spirit had been released, but the lingering unease persisted. One evening, as the family sat down for dinner in the same kitchen that had been the epicenter of the haunting, a sense of melancholy hung in the air. They silently acknowledged the absence of their beloved Mrs. Morrison. As they ate, something extraordinary happened. The faint, familiar scent of Mrs. Morrison's famous apple pie filled the room. It was as if her presence lingered, offering comfort and assurance that she was at peace. In the days that followed, the family found solace in the subtle signs of Mrs. Morrison's enduring love. They would occasionally hear her laughter, catch a glimpse of her in old family photographs, or find a cherished recipe tucked away in a drawer. It became clear that Mrs. Morrison's spirit had not entirely left their home but had transitioned from a haunting to a comforting presence, watching over her family with love and warmth. The haunted kitchen, once a place of terror and mystery, had now transformed into a sanctuary. Story number 3. The Rotting Surprise. In a sleepy, picturesque town nestled between rolling hills and lush forests, there existed a cozy little bakery known as Mabel's Sweets. Mabel, the cheerful and kind-hearted owner, had been running the bakery for decades, delighting the townsfolk with her delectable treats. Her pastries, especially her famous apple turnovers, were beloved by all. One crisp autumn day, a young couple, Lily and Jack, decided to visit Mabel's Sweets. They had heard glowing reviews from friends about the bakery's mouth-watering delights and were eager to try them for themselves. As they entered the quaint shop, the scent of freshly baked goods filled the air, enticing them further. Lily and Jack approached the counter, where Mabel herself stood, wearing her signature apron and a warm smile. They ordered a selection of pastries and sat down at a cozy corner table, eager to savor the renowned apple turnovers. Their anticipation grew as Mabel placed a tray of golden, flaky turnovers in front of them. They took their first bites, savoring the delicious combination of crisp pastry and sweet, spiced apples. However, as they dug deeper into the turnovers, their expressions shifted from delight to horror. Inside the pastry, tangled with the apples, was something grotesque, a decaying, rat-like creature, its fur matted and its tiny claws extended. Lily screamed, and Jack pushed his plate away in revulsion. Mabel, shocked and mortified, rushed to their table to see what had caused the commotion. She apologized profusely, explaining that she had no idea how such a horrifying mistake could have occurred. Lily and Jack were horrified and disgusted, their appetites irreparably ruined. Mabel offered them a full refund and vowed to investigate the matter thoroughly. The incident spread like wildfire throughout the town, shattering Mabel's previously pristine reputation. Health inspectors descended upon her bakery, finding no evidence of any issues with food storage or preparation. Mabel herself was devastated, unable to fathom how something so grotesque had found its way into her beloved pastries. As the town buzzed with rumors and gossip, some believed it was a sinister act meant to sabotage Mabel's business, while others were convinced it was a supernatural occurrence. Mabel was forced to close her bakery temporarily while the investigation continued, and the incident became the stuff of local legends. Ultimately, the mystery of the rotting surprise remained unsolved. Mabel's Sweets never fully recovered, and the once thriving bakery was forever marked by the horrifying event. The townsfolk still whispered about the bizarre and unsettling incident, reminding them that even in the most charming places, darkness and horror could unexpectedly lurk. As weeks turned into months, the unsettling incident at Mabel's Sweets continued to haunt the town. Mabel herself was never the same. The once cheerful baker had become a recluse, tormented by the thought of the rotting creature in her pastries. She tirelessly searched for answers, but each lead led to a dead end. Meanwhile, the town's fascination with the mystery only grew. People came from neighboring towns to visit the now famous bakery, hoping to catch a glimpse of the place where the horrifying incident had occurred. Local newspapers published sensational stories about the rotting surprise, and conspiracy theories circulated like wildfire. In the midst of this chaos, a peculiar group of individuals arrived in town. They called themselves the Occult Investigators, a team of paranormal experts who claimed to specialize in solving supernatural mysteries. They believed that the grotesque discovery was the result of a malevolent spirit seeking revenge. The investigators set up shop in the town, conducting seances and rituals in an attempt to communicate with any spirits that might be lingering around Mabel's Sweets. Their presence only fueled the town's curiosity and anxiety, but they seemed to make progress. One fateful night, during a particularly intense seance inside the bakery, the investigators claimed to have made contact with a restless spirit. The spirit identified itself as Elias, a rat catcher who had perished under mysterious circumstances in the town centuries ago. According to Elias, he had been wronged by the town's ancestors, and his spirit had been tormented ever since. Elias confessed to tampering with the pastries as an act of revenge against the town that had condemned him. He apologized to Mabel for involving her in his vengeful act and promised to leave her bakery in peace. With that, the investigators claimed to have successfully banished Elias's spirit from the premises. In the days that followed, Mabel's Sweets slowly began to recover. The town's fascination with the bakery waned, and the curious visitors left. Mabel reopened her shop, but she did so with a heavy heart. Story number 4. The Cursed Reservation. In the heart of the city, amidst the hustle and bustle of urban life, stood a luxurious and historic hotel known as the Grand Providence. For generations, the hotel had been a symbol of elegance and opulence, frequented by celebrities, politicians, and tourists seeking an unforgettable experience. The hotel's fame, however, extended beyond its lavish architecture and impeccable service. It was whispered that the Grand Providence harbored a sinister secret, a cursed reservation. The legend began in the late 1800s when a wealthy businessman named William Thornton made a reservation for a lavish suite on the top floor of the hotel. Thornton was known for his arrogance and ruthlessness in the world of finance, and his stay at the Grand Providence was meant to be a celebration of a recent business victory. Upon his arrival, Thornton was greeted with the utmost courtesy by the hotel staff. They escorted him to the suite he had reserved, a sumptuous and sprawling penthouse with panoramic views of the city. Excited and full of pride, Thornton settled in for his stay, confident that he was at the pinnacle of success. However, as the days passed, strange occurrences began to unfold. Thornton complained of hearing eerie whispers in the dead of night, as if malevolent voices were conspiring against him. His once rosy complexion turned ashen, and he became increasingly paranoid and fearful. One evening, as a thunderstorm raged outside, hotel guests reported hearing blood-curdling screams coming from Thornton's suite. When staff rushed to his aid, they found the businessman writhing in agony, his eyes filled with terror. He uttered cryptic phrases about a debt to be paid and cursed reservations before succumbing to madness. Thornton was committed to a mental institution, and his luxurious suite was sealed off, forever shrouded in mystery and dread. The suite became known as the Cursed Reservation, and it was said that anyone who dared to stay there would be plagued by the same malevolent forces that had driven Thornton to madness. Over the years, the Grand Providence tried to dispel the curse, renovating the suite, and even changing its layout. But still, guests who stayed there reported chilling encounters, apparitions in the dead of night, disembodied voices, and an overwhelming sense of dread. The legend of the Cursed Reservation grew, and despite the hotel's attempts to keep it a secret, rumors and stories circulated among those in the know. Some guests, intrigued by the hotel's history, specifically requested the cursed suite, eager to experience the supernatural for themselves. To this day, the Grand Providence remains an icon of luxury and elegance, but its dark secret endures, a chilling reminder that some reservations, once made, can never truly be cancelled. The cursed suite continues to be a source of fascination and fear for those who dare to explore the depths of the paranormal in search of the truth behind the legend of the Cursed Reservation. Many brave souls arrived at the Grand Providence, unaware of the suite's dark history. They were drawn to the hotel's luxurious reputation and the allure of staying in a room with a sinister reputation. The hotel staff, despite their reluctance, honored these guests' requests. One particular incident that added to the hotel's notoriety involved a renowned paranormal investigator named Professor Amelia Locke. She had heard the tales of the Cursed Reservation and was determined to uncover the truth behind the legend. Armed with her equipment and a team of investigators, Professor Locke booked the suite for a week-long stay. During their stay, Professor Locke and her team experienced a series of unexplainable phenomena. Lights flickered, objects moved on their own, and eerie whispers echoed through the room. Each night, they conducted seances and communicated with the other side, hoping to unravel the mystery. On the final night of their stay, as a thunderstorm raged outside, Professor Locke made a startling discovery. Hidden beneath the floorboards, she found a collection of old letters and documents that shed light on William Thornton's life and his dealings in the world of finance. The documents hinted at shady dealings and unpaid debts, suggesting that Thornton's obsession with success had led him down a dark and treacherous path. As Professor Locke and her team delved deeper into their research, they became convinced that the malevolent forces in the suite were connected to Thornton's unresolved business dealings and the guilt he had carried with him to the end of his days. With this newfound knowledge, they performed a cleansing ritual, seeking to release Thornton's tormented spirit from the cursed reservation. As they concluded the ritual, a bone-chilling scream echoed through the room, and a sudden gust of wind extinguished all the candles.